Howdy friendos, just letting you know that the GUI Cube has officially launched their Campaign World and Adventure Box Kickstarter. Be sure to go check out their campaign and pledge if you want to have some awesome adventures in an immersive 5th edition campaign setting, complete with tons of tools and handouts to make the lives of the GM so much easier. Despite them being sponsors, I've already backed the Kickstarter, and just to show you how legit these guys are, they got funded in like 2 minutes. They have great stuff. Click the link in the description to check out their Kickstarter and show them your support. So I dropped a video on Hazbin Hotel's Angel Dust a few weeks ago, and it's been doing very well. It has an excellent like to dislike ratio, it's getting lots of fun comments, we've gained probably 1,000 or so subscribers from it, and it's officially joined the 100,000 views club. However, I noticed I've been getting a lot of the same comments over and over. The first comment I've been getting was the fact that I didn't know what a John was. In my video, I stated that Angel Dust was collecting money from someone called John, but what was actually happening is that he was saying he was with a John, which is prostitute slang for with a client. Some people were being very nice about it, but others seemed to be under the impression that I was too innocent for this series, which, no. I just didn't know about prostitute slang because I've never had to pay for sex.
Sexual history.
Epic. And epic.
The second comment that I got most said that I was wrong about the chronological placement of the Addict music video. These comments suggested that the Addict music video was not a flashback or backstory as I presented, but was in fact a fantasy played out by Angel Dust in a talent show that was being held by the staff at the Happy Hotel, and it was something of a group therapy session. Their evidence for these theories came from two sources. The first was from the video itself. There is a sign at the strip club that says, "It was all a dream," and that's mostly it, at least in the video. And the second piece of evidence came from the characters' official Instagram accounts. So, does this theory hold any water? Well, sorta. I think the assertion is correct, but only on a, well, technically sort of level. But let's take a look and see what is in favor of this "it is a therapy dream sequence performance" theory. First of all, this is a music video, which inherently does give the theory a bit of credence. It's pretty common to have abstract ideas of expression to be done in music videos. If you were going to do a sort of dream sequence, this is the place to have it. Secondly, the music itself does have a sort of otherworldly quality. Though just those opening music notes are different from anything else we've heard within the Hazbin universe. Most of the music is either classical backing or something very musical theater-y.
But we're already past that phase.
But as you can see, the Addict music video sounds something more like you'd hear from Beat Saber rather than something from Hazbin Hotel. It's pretty easy to imagine that this style of clubby electronica music is something that's playing in Angel's mind rather than the non-diegetic stuff that plays in the background of the pilot. There are also some scene transitions that could imply wishful thinking, especially this whole swirly glasses thing. It seems a little out of place, but I don't think that means anything. Also, the backgrounds are a little inconsistent from the nighttime of the strip club from the daytime. However, despite all that, I really don't think the Addict music video is a dream sequence. At least, not how the majority of these commenters are pointing out. My commenters are suggesting this is a wish fulfillment fantasy, like something that you would see in Scrubs.
Holy inferiority complex, Batman!
How low is my self-esteem that I'm the sidekick in my own fantasy?
First of all, while not a huge point against this theory, there really isn't any animation shorthand that is suggesting that this is a fantasy. If you look at things like Avatar or Steven Universe or anything like that, whenever they do something that is imaginary from the point of view of a character, there's always some obvious thing showing that this is a fantasy, like a swirly transition, or a drastic change in art style, or something that is so out of place in the universe that it couldn't possibly be anything else other than a dream. VivziePop is a graduate from the New York Studio of Visual Arts and would probably use some different technique if she wanted to express that this is contrast to the usual reality that we see in the show. That is a pure assumption, and like I said, it doesn't hold a ton of water, but there is no different animation being done here. In fact, it looks a lot like the pilot. Second, we see at the end of the music video that Angel is standing alone in a hallway in a defeated and isolated location. His body language is communicating emotional exhaustion, and his facial expressions convey lost in thought. When Charlie tries to reach out to him, he recoils defensively. This isn't the expression of someone who just spilled their guts. Thirdly, the music video just makes more sense and answers more questions if we frame it as a flashback and not an alternate reality Angel has in his head. This video visually demonstrated Angel and Cherry's relationship. It clearly communicates his subservitude and hatred of his boss, and the trauma he suffers from it, and most importantly, it fills in the blanks of the solid that he owes Cherry Bomb.
I owed my girl buddy a solid. Isn't that a redeeming quality?
What sort of solid would he owe her if it wasn't for this? Finally, that takes us to the Instagram accounts. This is seemingly the biggest point of evidence that my commenters have made about this performance piece, and I gotta say, this frustrates me. I don't like most social media, especially Instagram. I personally don't see any inherent value to the platform, and there's been study after study that shows how bad these sorts of social medias are to people and their mental health. So I kind of ignored the Hazbin Instagram accounts just on principle. And I'll be clear, I should not have done that. While I was making the lore videos, I was aware of their existence, but I chose not to acknowledge them, and that was a mistake because the Instagram accounts do hold some interesting information. Each of these Instagram accounts are meant to be as if the characters themselves run them. They present their own content as if they were all content creators, and there is some fun to be had here. For example, in Nifty's Instagram, we learned that Alistair either doesn't allow photos to be taken of him, or he doesn't appear on camera like normal people. We also learned that Vox and Valentino are probably in a relationship, and I only say probably because millennial Instagram language doesn't always reflect reality, and they may be just presenting themselves as a couple, but they are probably together. And probably funniest of all, there are some small story arcs taking place in some of these Instagram posts. In the early points of Blitz's post, he is constantly mentioning a horse that he is either hallucinating or acts as his imaginary friend. Either way, no one else can see this character. But then all of a sudden he gets kidnapped and the horse breaks him out of whatever held him captive. Also, as a neat little side note, it is seemingly doing the same thing to the camera that Alistair is, so, you know, there is probably some lore there. So there is some value to these Instagram posts, but there isn't really a ton we can go off of, at least not enough to completely make its own video out of. So what are the posts that people are talking about? They're getting so many of them to think that this is a fantasy sequence. Well, in Husk's Instagram post, we see a first-person perspective of Angel Dust giving him some sort of ticket. Husk said in the description that this is an invitation to a peep show of some kind. In the very next post, we see another first-person shot, and the caption says that Husk passed out and is asking if he missed something, and we see red mist coming from another room. Then after that, we see a third post saying that he has to watch Angel's pig for him as an apology for missing the show. Also, Alistair is there, and he makes a cameo, but the glitch is back. The interesting evidence here is the ticket, the smoke, and the fact that Husk has to make up for missing it. And personally, no, I don't think this is enough to suggest that Angel Dust is putting on some kind of performance fantasy. The ticket can be written off fairly easily. In the pilot and in many Instagram posts, it's implied that Angel either has a crush on Husk or he is flirting with him. And this could mean anything. If Angel Dust was performing for the entire hotel, then someone else should have mentioned it. The only other character who even alludes to this is Nifty, who snapped a picture of Angel Dust from another angle where he strikes the same defeated pose as he does in the music video. Hotel Management, the account ran by Vaggie, doesn't mention this at all, and Angel Dust doesn't mention anything at all in his own Instagram posts. Although that could be justified. A lot of Angel's posts are about marketing himself and mentioning how he is making money for the boss, implying that there is a chance that Valentino either has a hand in his account or he is being monitored and Angel doesn't want Val to see it. And since Vaggie only has 2 posts, she may not like making content, so that could explain why Hotel Management hasn't mentioned this talent show. But if this was a group therapy session, why didn't Nifty at least say anything about it? Or anyone else? We see her playing poker with everyone, so it's clear she is social with people, and you can see how I've kind of made my point. There's just not enough to assume that this peep show was anything more than Angel flirting with Husk, and then capitalizing on guilt and favors later for his pig. And like I mentioned earlier, Husk having to watch Fat Nuggets could be Angel Dust just messing with him. In fact, I say it's incredibly likely. It's minor, and it's definitely an easy, silly lie that Angel could tell in order to get him to do something he wants. However, do you see why I dislike this group therapy theory? One, there has to be a ton of logical leaps that need to be made in order for this to make sense, and it very much goes against Angel's character to blatantly open up like this. Angel Dust is a guy from a family of Italian mobsters, and tough, manly attitudes are an important part of their culture. You could straight up call it toxic masculinity, especially from someone that died in the 40s. Never once do we see him opening up to anything in any media source that would suggest that he would share this kind of emotion. He's always guarding himself with sarcasm, humor, and flirting. Even when talking to Cherry Bomb, his closest friend, he kind of puts on this macho attitude.
Glad you haven't changed. You know you're my favorite guy to party with.
You know it, Sugar Tits.
Their conversation eventually boils down to, I've got your back because I value you more than anyone else. But they're using language like, you're my favorite guy to party with, and they're kind of keeping each other at arm's distance. None of these characters are ready for this big heart-to-heart that everyone in my last comment section seems to think that they're having. So in conclusion, is the Addict video a fantasy? No, probably not. It's probably a flashback being played in Angel's mind about his past and him reflecting on his life. Could Angel's narration be unreliable? Sure. Angel might be remembering things better or worse than they are, but since he's not sharing this information with anyone else, it's likely that he's reflecting true events. But I feel the explanation that we provided in the last video are more well-founded interpretations of the Addict music video. It answers more questions, it keeps the characters in character, and it doesn't rely on supplementary content like Instagram to reveal drastic bombshells that need to be studied like homework in order to get the full story. And with that, check out our other alignment videos, and I'll see you next time.